Hi, my name is Kathy Roberts, and I have extended free access to my Tidy Tutor University and TT Insiders Club for another whole week. A reason is because I know how you tick. Since procrastination is our nature, maybe you wanted to take advantage of the offer last week but didn't, and it became too late. So here's your chance to do it now. And right here on this video or on this page, there is the link so that you can begin right now. So click on it and get started. I also share with you right here and now a little piece of what is inside of our private members area, a video I call Coffee Talk. And the title of this particular Coffee Talk is How to Overcome and Get It Done. TT Insiders is like continuing education. It expounds on everything inside of our course, Tidy Tutor University, and goes into detail regarding pieces of help that we all need, such as this, normally private video, I share with you right here. You can sign up for TTU free for a whole week by clicking on this link, and you'll get all of my access to everything I've got. That is normally for only my insiders. Talk to you soon. Thanks for coming. This is Coffee Talk. All right, so we're going to talk today about how to overcome and get it done. And by the overcome part, I mean, like to overcome those moments when either, we get that overwhelm that we feel and we don't know, where to start or what to do or how to, kind of like that, I'm just going to go to bed with a pint of Haagen-Dazs and a spoon moment. Or maybe just when things kind of got a little bit out of control. Now, things get a little bit out of control for everybody. But when it happens to people who are more right-brained, the organizationally challenged types, it sends us a little bit spinning. It makes us, because we look within instead of without. We're organized people who are born that way, that they have that gift. They look... They like if things aren't quite right or something, they look and they say, well, what's happening in my world right now, and how how can I adjust so that things can be back into place? Whereas we automatically think there must be something wrong with us because that's the way it's been, and if you grew up this way and you have parents that are organizationally gifted, then you definitely heard a lot of what's wrong with you kind of stuff. All right, so futility means fruitless, pointless. These are synonyms: uselessness, ineffectiveness, barrenness, unprofitability. Futility, like why bother? And most of the time, like this happens to a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. And one of the things is like, say, physical fitness. And that's why people often do need a coach or do need to talk to somebody, be in support groups. That's why there's Weight Watchers. That's why there's places for people to go, because it feels like nothing is happening. It feels like nothing's going to happen, especially if you've been trying to do something for a long time, and it feels like, well, why bother? And that's just a lie from hell. All right. That is a lie from the pit of hell. It is worth trying, and things will change. Nothing stays the same if you do something. It only stays the same if you don't. So, sometimes life just happens. And by that, I mean, like, sometimes things go on around us. And, we really do need to be in a position where we realize that it doesn't only just happen to us, but to realize what is us, like to say, all right, what are we, we think differently, and we all know that. We all know we do. We have this, overwhelm, we have inactivity, we have paralyzation, we have indecision, and we have futility. These are things that affect us on a regular basis. Now, when you're practiced at other things, these are much less prevalent in our lives. It's much less, but we all can. I really do assume, and I'd like to know if, you're welcome to chime in, please. Like if this is something that resonates, where there's so much to do. And sometimes it isn't even a lot of housework. Sometimes, like when you get your stuff together and you're moving on a roll and stuff, but then other things in life come in, you could be getting things done, but still feeling like you're on a treadmill. So when we know that it is all in our head, because sometimes we know that it's all in our head, it doesn't make it any less real. When we could be in a position of complete inactivity, um, you know, we know, like here's an example. This is from years and years ago. And it still happens to me now, but not like it used to, that's for sure. Where all day would go by, I would stay at home mom, and I had time to do things, and then it would be like 4 o'clock. I know my husband was coming home soon. The house was a wreck. And I knew that, like, he was going to say, what did you do all day? And not in a mean way either. It wasn't like I know that there's some people that could be kind of mean about stuff, but I don't want to give that impression. It was just like an honest answer. I mean, an honest question. It was an honest question. What did you do all day? I did a lot of nothing. That's what I call it. I say, man, what are you doing? I'm doing a lot of nothing, because there is lots that is being done, but nothing is being finished. And so when you're in a position where you feel like it doesn't matter, when you have that futility going, then yeah, it's all in your head. Because when there's a plan, when there's a roadmap, when there's a system in place, and when you begin to move, it changes everything. So it is all in our head. So I want you to think about who you are, all right? When you get into, or if you ever again get into a position where you have that overwhelm, where you feel like, oh my God, I want you to think about, who am I? All right. Who am I? You've really got to know yourself. Remember, we can't act like Martha Stewart. We're not Martha Stewart. We never will be Martha Stewart. Now, in a way, I don't mean that in a way that we can't be excellent homemakers. I don't mean that at all. We're talking about personality traits here, not musical ability. Because I always say that there are people that were born musical and do not, continue on with it and aren't very good as they grow up. And then somebody who was not born musical, but took lessons and practiced, and now they're excellent. They're much better than that other person. So I don't want this to be sounding like I think that you can't get excellent at homemaking. But the thing that I'm talking about when we say we're never going to be like the Martha Stewart type, what I mean by that is our personalities aren't going to change, where we really like flexibility. We're not rigid people. We never will be. There's going to be times when we aren't going to care that the sheet isn't put under the mattress. We're not going to care that all of the hangers are all the exact same kind of hanger. There's certain things that are never going to affect us like they would affect somebody else with a different personality, as well as the fact that we're people. We're always going to be there for somebody. We're not going to ever say, oh, gee, I'm so sorry. I have to go down to the stream with my clothing and beat them on the rock, because that's the best way to get all the stains out. And that takes me several hours. So no, I cannot, come and pick you up from the airport today. You're going to have to take a bus. We're not the type. We're not. Now, at the same time, we do get the whole say no thing. So I don't want anybody to be like, oh my God, she says one thing and another. But you know what? There's a balance. And there's certain things that we are never going to succumb to. And that's rigidity. All right. So having had said that, when things are getting overwhelmed, or when you feel like that futility, oh my God, paralyzation kind of thing, I really want you to start doing something different than you did before. Now, remember this, all right? If you continue to do the same thing that you did before, you're only going to get the same things happening. It's like if you're the kind of person that needs to eat because you feel like if you eat, it makes you, It gives you comfort. Well, if you realize, say you're putting weight on, you don't like it, you go to a therapist, you read books or something, you think it through and you say, all right, it is obviously true that this food does not comfort me. It's a lie. It makes me feel like it does in the beginning, but it doesn't comfort me. So what does that person have to do? They have to do something different when they feel like putting food in their mouth, because that's what they were used to doing. Okay. So this is like the same thing. I want you to, when you see yourself feeling paralyzed, I want you to say, what do I do now? What do I do now that I know myself and that I know that it's really not true that I can't get something done? I know it's not true. I know that I can't, that it isn't futile. I know that's not true. What do I do differently now so that I'm not going to be buried in, my mess a week later? And it doesn't take all that long, right? It doesn't take all that long for things to get out of control. When you go in the kitchen and you open up a bottle of something and you leave the cap on the counter and you had a pizza and you leave the pizza box on the table and you had some napkins and you leave those on the table and then they fall off the table and you walk out of the room anyway and you sit on the couch with a blanket, you leave the blanket there. Maybe you took off your pants while you were there on the couch because it's hot out and now you leave your pants there and you walk to the bedroom and, all of those things. There's a trail behind us. And if you don't live alone and you are setting that kind of example, then they're doing the same thing. And then, it becomes a vicious cycle where you can't say to them, pick up after yourself, because, you're probably the worst culprit. So I want us to begin to do something differently when we feel that overwhelm. I want you to realize that all it means is that something has changed in your world. That's all it means. It means that something has changed. And so you have to take a deep breath, give yourself a break. And by that, I mean, realize that, hey, this stuff isn't easy. This is devastating for people who are organizationally gifted. This isn't easy for them. This is just something that comes naturally to them. So they know what to do when they do it. But when there's times in their lives when life throws them a curve, then they have to adjust, you know? So I want you to give yourself a break and realize that this isn't easy for everybody. It's hardly easy for anybody. And, especially during different times of the year, maybe the holiday season, maybe something that happened in your life and it's a reflection that you have, and it could be in June. Who the heck knows? It doesn't have to, whatever it is. Maybe you started a business, or maybe you're just in a new relationship. Maybe you just got a new job. Maybe you went back to school. Maybe you maybe you had a baby. Like, there are so many things that can, enter into our lives. Whereas if we were an organizationally gifted person, we would just step back and say, what do I have to do here? What's changed here? Instead of saying, oh my God, here we go again. I happen to see my niece on this call. Her name is Lisa, and I've known her since she was a little girl. And this woman, she's a grown woman now, and she has a darling daughter, and she lives in Spokane, Washington. Do you live, right? She lives in Washington State. And I've seen her as a little girl and as a teenager. She lived actually upstairs from me in an apartment when I had my first child. And she would come down and help me, and she really had her act together. And does she still? Yeah. But is it as easy for her now as it was then? No. She's got a very big house. She has a very busy life. She has her business that's like a coffee. It's called, what is it called, Lise? It's called, I love the name of it. Anyway, it's called some really cool little name, a coffee. Jam and Java, that's it. It's called Jam and Java in Washington. If anybody's in Washington, stop at Jam and Java. So she was my first person, one of my first people in my group of class that I did, my very first class that I ran, and I was surprised to see her there. I was surprised. I said, well, Lise, I've known you for years. You don't have this issue, but you know what? Things have changed in her life. Now, does this mean that, she maybe is as bad as I ever was? I'm sure not. But does it mean that people don't need help because they're in a different stage of life now? Yeah. So that my whole point to saying that is that I just want you to realize that you're not alone. You just have to think of yourself more differently and give yourself a break and take a look around and evaluate and say to yourself, all right, what has changed? Think and then reevaluate. What do I have to do now? All right. That's what I want you to do. I want you to say, what do I have to do now? And don't look at the whole picture. That's projection. We can't read the future. We don't know what the future brings, but we do know what's happening right now. And that's one of the good things about this system that we do, because it breaks things down. All right. Now, that just do it thing, that Nike, thing, sometimes it serves us, and sometimes we just want to, punch that person that did that marketing right in the jaw, just do it. Yeah, it's easy for you to say, but in reality, like in this context that we're talking about, you really do. You really do have to just do it. You have to get to the place where you realize those thoughts of futility, it doesn't serve me. We live in a body, we have a soul, and we are a spirit. That's what it is. Okay. So you know if you feed your flesh too much, your spirit is never going to scream. It's a gentleman or a lady, however you want to put it. It's always just going to speak in a very kind tone, whereas the body will scream. And if you feed the body and you don't feed the spirit, well, your body is going to tell you, oh my God, this is how you feel, because it's all about feelings. If you allow yourself to have some meditation, to, not allow your flesh to take over, then you really can ask it to just step aside. And then take the first step. The first step towards getting somewhere is to decide that you are not going to stay where you are. And some unknown person said that, and I liked it. All right. So sometimes shit just happens. All right. And here's just another illustration of, now this is another thing, and this is why I put this up here. The picture of the woman with her hands over her face. It says, why bother trying to become better if I'm destined to fall short? Now, the reason that I put this up here wasn't to like beat a dead horse. Like, all right, you got it already. But is because, do you know how many images on Google there are like this? What does that tell you? It tells you that it's common. It tells you that this happens. It tells you that, no, you're not alone. How many of us believed that nobody was like us? Nobody's like this. How many times have you said, nobody should live this way? So you're not the only one. All right. And that's what this is all about. All right. So I want us to wake up. Okay. I want us to wake up. I want us to stop playing those old tapes. And you want things to change. Now, of course, everybody isn't in this place right now that's listening to this. If you're not in this place, this is a great, video to watch when the time comes. If the time comes that you're beginning to feel like, I don't like how this is, things are getting out of control, I don't know what to do. If you're not in that place now and everything is cool, then remember this. All right. Remember this when that time comes. Now, here it says, so you're afraid, do it afraid. I love that so much. Everybody that is successful in any category of life, the beginning was scary. And the whole thing is that, pushing aside the fear and doing it anyway. Just do it anyway. This one is so cute. Just do your honest to goodness best. And I love the little Nike thing there, because you really do hear the just do it in there, even though it doesn't even say it, right? And just believe that you can do it, and that I believe in you. So here is like, keep calm and make a plan. Don't you love those things with the little crowns on them? Those little, I don't know who does them, but I like them. And you're not alone, all right? You not only have me, but there is an awesome group in our Facebook community and in our Tidy Tutor community, this is an awesome group of people. So there's a verse in Ecclesiastes that, well, it's actually a few chapters. A few verses. And it's Ecclesiastes 4. And so if you don't mind, I'll read it. It says, two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him that is alone when he falls, for he has not another to help him up. And if one prevail against him, two shall withstand him. And a three-fold cord is not quickly broken. All right, because while I was reading this, I'm saying to myself, you should have edited that part out and just put little dots, but that's why I left it in there. A three-fold cord is not quickly broken. So I hope that you kind of like heard this, because sometimes scripture can be difficult to soak in. So bear with me. I'm just going to read the very beginning one more time. Two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their labor. If they fall, the one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him that is alone, for he has not another to help him up. All right? So when he falls, he doesn't have another to help him up. And so, that's another thing that we could kind of see that's universal. People have always needed other people. And this is kind of like a disorder, because it's kind of funny that dis-ease is, lack of ease, dis-ease, and disorder, lack of order. I like that. All right. Sometimes I'm simple. But that our disorder, really has been going on for a long time. It is something that is socially unacceptable. It's not socially acceptable. So many of us have, kind of like just either grinned and bared it or just went it alone. And, I have a lot of people that are older, and think, oh my God, I've been trying this for years. I've always been this, and life is changing for them. It really is such a simple thing. It's just education. And when you feel like you're all alone and you feel like you can't even tell anybody about it, that's where the trouble lies, because a lie revealed, it loses all its power. All of its power is gone. There's no power in a lie when it's revealed. So, be there for each other, okay? Take advantage of the group. So it's about support. So set a goal, make a plan, get to work, stick to it, and you'll reach the goal. It really is that real. It really, really is. I could promise you that. I promise you that. And most of you know it. Most of you have, at least, if not done it to a point where it's like, holy mackerel, this is great. And then maybe you fell back off. But the great thing is get right back on. It's just like riding a bike. Okay? So if anybody wants to comment or to, ask any questions, it doesn't have to be about this. All right. Terry, if you want me to unmute you, just tell me or I'll read it. I'll read it and then you could just type in unmute me and you could talk if you want. All right. All right. You said, I needed this chat so much. I've been so overwhelmed with the pantry remodel and the house is a mess. I'm trying to keep the things that I can keep together and take deep breaths. Thank you. Thank you for helping us. Oh, you're welcome. You know what? There's two things I want to say about that. One is, one of the things that I wanted to, like, I spoke to somebody today on a 30-minute call, and, she lost her husband 7 years ago, and she was really an organized woman, and she feels like overwhelmed. But you know what? One of the things that I helped her to see is that it doesn't have to be perfect. There's some things that, hey, what are you living? What is the life you're living now? We have to realize that some things just don't matter anymore. Do the bathroom swish. That is freaking easy. Keep your laundry going. Make sure your dishes are done. Get your nighttime routine going on where you make sure that you have what you need for the morning and that kind of thing. But some things are just not going to matter for us anymore. If you're 15 minutes from company, then that's good enough. And then the other thing that I would like to say about this is, maybe we could talk, because I understand that, like, especially with a remodel, if you're having like sawdust and all of that other stuff up, you can't keep up with that stuff. You have to just kind of wait for it to be all over. But another thing that happens sometimes is, we get kind of slack in other areas because there is that happening. We see the mess. We begin to go into that mode of overwhelm and paralyzation. And so you need to really like snap out of it if that's the case. And, just open up your binder, get your thing going, and then just start, because it feels kind of futile when you have a big mess around. So I'll just say thank you so much for showing up for Coffee Talk, and we'll meet again next week. Bye bye.